Assassin's Creed Shadows Combat has a lot of new elements that I'm going to be breaking down in this video. It's going to be a deep dive for you to be prepared for the game. A lot of new information has come out, and I want to make sure that you're locked in with me as we proceed to give you what you need for this game. First thing I want to talk about, and one of the most essential things, is the key ability of the combat when it comes to posture breaking and things like that. You're going to be watching a lot of combat, and I'm going to break down everything when it comes to the attacks and all of that. But posture is a big deal this time around, and vulnerability as well. There's two mechanics that I would want you to pay attention to, and then it can hopefully guide you to understand the new systems and how they all work and things like that. So let's dive into it. I'm going to show you a picture here of the loadouts, and this is very important to kind of take in a lot of information in here, of course. But we're going to start off with the 4 key stats that you're going to have on all of your weapons and things like that. You have weapon damage, of course, it's going to be the general damage of a weapon. Then you have posture damage, which is also about when you break someone's posture, how much posture can you break and put them into a vulnerable state. Then there's ability damage, which you have key abilities that I'll talk about a little later. And then you have vulnerability damage. Vulnerability damage, again, when someone's in that vulnerable state, there's a lot of things you can do, and it's going to be key depending on how you want to make your build and how you want to play the game. Everybody's going to have their own play style and their own preferences. This isn't a guide on making a build today, but just want you to understand that first. And then we'll get into some of the things on the sidelines of the primary weapons and your choices that you can pick. You can always have 2, and it's going to be your choice. We're going to get into that as well. But just keep in mind the stats, because each weapon you choose and the things that you go forward is going to be key. As you can see right here, this is the actual setup for Naoe. She has 2 primaries, the horse, a head piece, and a body piece, okay? And then of course her tools at the bottom, you see there. And this is going to be your kit, and this is how you're going to play. Now, the first thing that I want to do is talk about something very important, and that's going to hopefully take you in the right steps as we proceed to break this down and give you a quick guide on how it goes. And the first thing that I want to talk about is there's 2 characters. Of course, you have Yasuke, the one and the only samurai. And then, of course, you have Naoe, who's actually a shinobi, who's a lot faster. She has less health, but she can move very fast. Yasuke has a lot of health. He's a little slower, but he's a tank. And consider them those 2 type of play styles, and you're gonna have to pick how you want to go. And now what I want to talk about is the understanding of these attacks. Okay, there's a couple of easy things to look at when you see someone attacking you. One of the first things is the white bar above their heads. A white bar is usually when it's a normal attack, and that's just for standard attacks that they'll have. Then there's the blue flash, which actually is a flurry attack. All right, so that's like multiple attacks. You can still parry and block these as well. Remember, blocking will break your posture as well, so you got to be very careful as you play. And so as you can see right here, this is the white one. This is a normal attack, and it's very important to note that even though you can dodge, parry, and all that stuff, you don't want to put yourself in a vulnerable place, and be smart about that. You can see the blue flurry is a multiple combo attack, which you have to try to evade as well. You don't want to block all of those, because then your posture will be down, and that's not okay. You want to have something simple. Now we're going to get into the red attacks. We all know what this is in video games. This usually means it's unblockable, unparryable. Okay, so that means you got to dodge out of the way and find a way out of there. And so just pay attention for that. Back away from it, a quick dodge and a maneuver. You'll be fine when you do that. Just pay attention. Now, I want to talk about what you just saw right here. When I break this man's posture, he turns gold. Okay, why is this important? This is a very important tool in this game. That gold feature basically tells you that they're in a vulnerable state. All right, and we talked about the vulnerable damage and the things like that. You're capable of doing some heavy duty stuff here if you put them into this state, and you can do that with perfect parries and perfect dodges, and basically manipulate the game in your own way. So that's key, and this works for both characters. Okay, both characters can fight in combat and use all these tools that I'm giving you. Some things will be specific to a character, but today is not that day. We're not going to get into one or the other, but I did want to kind of bring that up and help you understand how that works, and hopefully it's useful information that will guide you as you prepare your playstyle. And again, for defense and offense, as you can see, Naoe's movement is so fast, and then Yasuke basically just stands there and takes the hit and pushes forward. So even though they both can block, their defense is a big difference. You can push enemies back with Yasuke, and Naoe is more of the agile who will move around enemies. Okay, so just keep that in mind as you go and you prepare to make your build and to do what you're going to do. So we're going to start talking about these weapons, and I talked about a lot of key things. Each weapon has abilities that are going to be enhancing your playstyle and depending on what you want. And I want to take a moment. I have a bunch of different pieces here of gear. You can see when it comes to Naoe, she has adrenaline gain instead of what Yasuke had on the previous build. And then it says create an area of effect on hit with dodge attack. Okay, then you have a second slot which allows you to forge anything into it, which we'll get into in a minute, but that's a very cool feature. But the rest of the build, when it comes to the weapon damage, posture damage, and then ability damage, right? That's very key, so you can know what you're doing, how you're doing it, why you're doing it. Super important as we go forward and talk about these things. I do want to take a moment just to kind of give you some of the weapons and show them to you. I'm not going to go through all of it in detail, but the legendary ones that we got here, the katana, nutty, and then the kanto, of course, the teppo, and then the bow. These are all Yatsuke's weapons that he can use, and there's going to be different versions. You're looking at the legendary versions. Each of them will have specific things that they do very powerful. And then, of course, Naoe, the one and the only. I love her. She has a katana, the kusari gama, and then the kanto that has the hidden blade with it. And so those are their play styles and their setups. There's a ton of these on the internet. I have a few, and I wanted to kind of go through some of it and kind of show you guys how it all works. But if you guys remember previous games where you can put a rune into a weapon in Valhalla, you can do the same thing for this game with that second spot. So I'm pretty excited about that. I cannot wait. And I want to just showcase a couple more of these that I have loaded up so you can see more or less some of the abilities and kind of figure out where you want to do, how you want to go. As you can see, level 25 doesn't mean much. You can get legendaries or you can get normal common stuff at this rate. So you're going to be finding things out in the world. And you can see his armor has extra armor damage. So there's little details right there on the right about his specific playstyle. And again, I'm scattering, trying to find all the pieces that I can of this information to give to you guys. And yeah, hope you guys are enjoying it. And then I want to kind of get into the most important thing in this game when it comes to each of these characters. They're fleshed out, detailed things that I absolutely love, that I think is going to be super important for us fans of the series who are going to play this thoroughly and go deep down the rabbit hole. It's super important. And basically, each character has 6 skill trees. 6 different skill trees, right? And they're variable depending on the weapons that you use and the playstyle. So I'm going to focus on the playstyle right now. You have the samurai skill tree, which is specific to Yasuke only. The weapons as well, those are specific to him because he's the only one using those. And then Naoe has her own version. And we're kind of going to just let you see some of this. You know, there's the war kick, which is an active skill, and it's important to note that some of these are passives, little simple buffs, and then other things are actual abilities that you can equip onto your player to play the way you feel best in the way you want to play. Like the brutal assassinations is something we're all gonna unlock most likely, because Yasuke isn't as stealthy, but at least having that assassination, being able to do some damage, is gonna be critical. And then he has the very fun war cry, I call it, but it's called a battle cry in this game. And then he has the samurai stance, where he goes into a frenzy and then attacks with posture damage. So as you can see, these are all the different skill trees. Super important to know each weapon has its own skill tree. All right, he has a bunch of good stuff like the katana, the nagi, and so much more. With the katana, as you can see here, there's a lot of simple stuff. You're going to deal 50% extra damage moving behind and then having vulnerable attacks. You're going to be able to use the repulse. Basically, after blocking, you perform an immediate repulse. There's things like this in this game, like Payback, for example, where you will deal 3 powerful strikes to a single enemy. And this is very important. If that's your playstyle when you're fighting a boss, it would be very useful. All of this stuff here is empowering you to play the way you want and to go into what you want. I love the Samurai Showdown one where you taunt 3 different enemies, then attack them. It's a cool, just badass. I think he's super badass. And then the Nagi weapon, which is going to be my favorite weapon right now. I'm going to be honest with you. Unleashing a flurry of 8 attacks on a single target. So this weapon, the onslaught ability, is going to be deadly for a one-on-one attack. 8 attacks in a row, just a combo that's going to be kind of crazy. I'm super excited about it. And the Crescent Strike here, jump to an enemy and swing the Nagi in a large arc, so you can hit multiple people with this. These are the type of things, like I said, every playstyle, depending on who you are, what you like to do, you can use. Impale an enemy is another one where they become vulnerable after, which is such a cool thing to have in this game. And again, these are somewhat spoilers as far as skills unlocking that you can get. The Cannonball here, this is the big brute weapon. It's kind of like a bat. Allows you to add some extra combos to your style and get crazy with it. Devastation. And then there's another one called a series of spinning strikes. Very interesting. You can send them flying back, which is another cool thing. For me, having all of this, each specific playstyle, you can go and pause the game and read through all of these. You're going to be able to enjoy this game the way you want, depending on your personal preference and playstyle. Whichever character you choose, you can go back and forth, of course, in between missions or even in the middle of a mission. Awesome. So I absolutely love that, and I think it's amazing that they're doing this. And then, of course, you got another beautiful shooting type of ability for you. A lot of good stuff here. And I want to kind of fast forward and cut through to go into his loadout. And just to talk about it again, as you can see here, 2 primaries. You have your headpiece and then your body piece. And then, of course, your tools to use. And then Naoe also has the same setup. Of course, depending on her playstyle, she's very different. She has the Shinobi skill tree, which is the most important for her. And then she has Assassins as well, that you can see here on the skill tree, which I absolutely love the fact that they have their own skill trees and their own abilities, and that you can do whatever you want. The Hidden Blade, the Eagle Vision, these are very important tools for assassins, and she has them both, as well as stabbing someone from behind the door. Plenty of cool stuff. The double assassination, it's all in this assassin skill tree. Then you have the Shinobi, which is one of my favorite things. Being undetected, being able to grab somebody, having the lightning kicks, very cool takedown stuff. The grapple hook is also another shinobi ability to be able to use and to go forward. I'm telling you, she's gonna be a lot of fun to play. And I feel like I'm getting 2 video games out of this, and I'm pretty excited about that. I don't know about you guys, but as you know, you have the bells to distract enemies, the smoke bombs to also distract or to infiltrate, the kunai to be able to do some heavy duty damage, 400 damage. Headshots are going to be crazy in this game. And then shurikens, last but not least. And so this can stagger enemies and do things like that. Then of course she has her standard stuff, and I'm going to skip through this a little bit for you guys to see all of the skills. You have the katana, of course, her #1 skill and weapon. I'm going to start off with this. Of course, that's what you get to start the game with, but I feel like I'm going to end it with this. I think by the end, I'll come back to this weapon. There's so many cool weapons that she has. And just to talk about a Kusari Gama, for example, has a really good AoE, and it's going to be fun to play with her. And as you see all these skills, hopefully there's something here that's exciting for you. Leave it in the comments. I wanted to share some of this and get into some of my perspectives of what's possible with these characters and where you can go as a player as you go forward. So let me know, what are you thinking here? What weapons and skills you feel is best? Personally, as I said before many times, I'm gonna play the game twice. I'm gonna run through it with both characters, like as focused as humanly possible, and then I can see where the game stands for me, because I feel like you're doing a cool job. And for those that are curious of like, oh, is this game any good? It's gonna ruin the fun if I have to switch back and forth. The truth is, yes, sure, you would want one person that can do everything, but I kind of like this challenge where I can go full stealth with one character, and then I just go heavy duty combat with the other. And I think that's a really exciting thing. And I personally cannot wait to experience that, because Yasuke is a badass samurai and he got a lot of great action. And then I also love stealth to the max. So it's kind of best of both worlds, 2 different styles. And you can switch to them at any time during the missions, as long as it's not like in a restricted area and you're not in a situation. So you have to hide real quick and you'll be able to swap for the most part through most open world, all open world, and a bunch of missions as well from what we've been confirmed. So this is the combat breakdown as best as possible right now, giving you every detail that I know about. I've really took the time to check all this out. I think the combat's going to be very fun and interesting. You're going to be able to make whatever type of build and playstyle you feel is best. We'll dive deeper into the forging system once I get my hands on that. I don't have any details to explain. It's a hideout feature, but I would assume you get a blacksmith and he will help you forge each weapon, adding extra abilities to it, changing the game in a different way. I do have a video breaking down the brand new raw gameplay if you want to go see that. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Make sure you like and leave a comment to help these videos grow, man. We want to get this Assassin's Creed love out there. All right, I'll see y'all on the next one. It should be popping up on screen now. Peace.